Oh my god, Song Yuhan, so handsome, truly a national idol. The murmurs of passers-by around. At this moment Higu turns towards the source of the sounds, his eyes locked on the poster. The corners of his mouth lift slightly, he nods, having worked several days in a row. Higu's head is spinning. The autumn rain falls on his umbrella like ice needles. Higu runs home through the heavy rain. By the time he reaches his doorstep, he's soaking wet, also carrying the strong smell of alcohol. Higu fumbles with his waist to unlock the door. After a spin, the door opens, Higu steps in, he quickly grabs his phone to check his reflection. Another night without sleep. Another rainy night. At this moment Higu looks indescribably haggard, and as he opens the door he hears the sound of a gaming console. When Higu pushes the door and enters, a man's silhouette in the darkness sits on the sofa, holding a game controller and focusing on the screen, two long legs that don't seem real casually resting on the coffee table. Have you eaten? Higu continued to undress as he hung up his coat. The man didn't lift his head. His slender fingers kept pressing buttons. Suddenly, he said, "No, I haven't eaten. This game is." The man threw the game controller aside and said, "Family matters aren't going well, you came. Why don't you turn on the light?" Song Yuhan muttered, "Don't turn it on, I'm busy and stressed out." He covered his eyes with his hand. After adjusting to the light, Song Yuhan's face, with its three-dimensional features, looked tired and lazy. His waist leaned in a relaxed manner. The black turtleneck highlighted his smooth, fair skin. His semi-long curly hair was casually tied back. "Yuhan, are you hurt?" Higu's eyes fell on Song Yuhan. "Maybe." Song Yuhan picked up a cup and took a sip of water. His collarbone was exposed from the turtleneck, making Higu's heart skip a beat. Song Yuhan's movements were both sensual and lazy at this moment. Higu turned his head and said, "If you're tired, just take a shower and go to bed early." Song Yuhan turned his head to look at him and smiled knowingly. "You don't think I came all the way here just to sleep, do you? Why wouldn't I sleep at my own place or in a 5-star hotel?" Why does he look at Song Jihan so calmly? He knows what Song Jihan is here for. It's nothing more than doing some lowering of that door. Over the years, the only things they've done together are playing poker and racing, that's it. He's just a little hopeful, hoping that Song Jihan is just tired, just coming to him to calm down his emotions. "Song, why do you always come in like that? Come here." Song Jihan triggered his defensiveness. "How long has it been since we last met? I've actually missed you." But Jiyushin retorted. Song Jihan, with his hands, pulled him closer. Jiyushin struggled against his strong physique, while Song Jihan let out a soft snort. "Worthy of being an engineer. Let me check if you've gained weight. Remember to exercise more, always sitting in the office." He flipped Jiyushin onto the couch, burying his head in Jiyushin's neck, gently biting it before starting to tug at his clothes. Song Jihan seemed very impatient. Song Jihan flipped Jiyushin onto the couch. When he's in a good mood while driving, he might even have a little race prepared, but when he's not in a good mood, he would just recklessly charge into the crowd. Today, Song Jihan was the latter. Jiyushin raised an eyebrow in acquiescence. With his lips curved and a content expression, he asked why it was still you, why some muddy ground looking at his face as innocent as a baby's, which irresistibly charmed. "My body can't help but desire, I wish to slowly crawl upon your skin." He still couldn't adapt to the physical demands of Song Yuhan's embrace, but it wasn't too hard, at least he got used to it, at least he could endure. He didn't know how much time had passed, he was somewhat delirious, but he felt Song Yuhan's presence physically within him. When Song Yuhan finished it was already midnight. He lay on the ground, too lazy to move his evenly distributed fingers. Song Yuhan lay beside him, already asleep with even breaths. His gaze shifted from scattered to focused, carefully observing Song Yuhan's profile. Recently it was hard to describe. Song Yuhan had complained more than once about not being in sync with others. "No one could match him as well as I could, perhaps that's why our relationship has lasted until now." Among the countless handsome men and beautiful women by Song Yuhan's side, how could none of them come to sleep with him? It was precisely because of the cold weather in the capital, and the function hadn't started yet, relying on the hot temperature of human bodies. To walk out of the deep autumn chill, all I wanted was this moment of peace. To keep it would be great. He opened his eyes. Song Yuhan was sleeping soundly. His scattered hair draped over the side of his face, his hand rested on my waist, slightly electrifying. I felt a bit moved, so I shifted slightly. I turned my head to look at Song Yuhan beside me, took his hand, and placed it on my heart, quietly observing the whole person. The moment he woke up, he went to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. Song Jihan sat at the table, scrolling through his phone, and a WeChat message popped up, along with a pleasant female voice. "Why didn't you reply to me?" "I'm so sad." As Song Jihan ate, he replied indifferently, "Busy lately," Song Jihan said calmly. "Can you hear this voice? It sounds so distant. Ah, I forgot, you don't really listen to Jae Hong, a newcomer, asked me to write songs for him. You slept, he said calmly. In fact, he has listened to each of Song Jihan's songs countless times, he just doesn't listen to others' songs. Song Jihan turned his head and said intimately, who knows if it's clean, then why do you still bother with him? He quietly lowered his head, holding the bread in his hands. Not afraid to promote him, he thinks he's very unique, wanting me to write songs for him. Song Jihan laughed. Why would I agree to him? Are you unhappy? Song Jihan said calmly, the hand holding the bread tensed up. Could he be unhappy? He doesn't get jealous? At this moment, Song Jihan moved closer to him, his eyes fixed on him, asking, are you unhappy? It was hard to discern in his downcast eyes. Are you happy or not? Hee-gu, are you upset? Hee-gu wore a blank expression, his eyes vacant as he said, how could that be? Song Yuhan continued, oh, really? Song Yuhan looked at Hee-gu with a mocking smile, anyone who gets close to me always wants something from me, right? Hee-gu's eyes remained blank. His feelings were just a joke to Song Yuhan, a burdensome joke. He didn't want to humiliate himself, so Hee-gu played along, giving a faint smile, I want something too. Hee-gu wiped his mouth, looking at him calmly, I want to smear your face. Song Yuhan burst into laughter. Hee-gu watched Song Yuhan. The reason they could maintain this kind of relationship was mainly because Hee-gu didn't talk much, didn't cling, didn't cause trouble, didn't resist. If he had even one of these traits, he probably wouldn't have the chance to get close to this man for the rest of his life. It was better to let him think that Hee-gu was no different from others. At that time, Hee-gu was a bookworm, a top student preparing for the college entrance exam. He only dared to secretly watch Song Yuhan. Song Yuhan was the campus idol, popular everywhere, tall, played basketball, mastered several musical instruments, and often appeared on various media like a big star. He even had one foot in the entertainment industry. Most importantly, he was very good looking. Originally, the two of them would never have had any interaction. But by chance, during a school event, Song Yuhan's role was to sing the theme song Live, while Hee-gu's role was to print out the lyrics of that song. He discovered that Song Yuhan's English was much better than his own, so he nervously said, sorry, I didn't help much. The teenager's skin reflected a mesmerizing glow in the setting sun, his bright eyes like shattered stardust, sprinkling into people's hearts. It's rare to meet someone who doesn't talk much when they're with me. Song Yuhan's words made Hee-gu's heart race. He couldn't tell if Song Yuhan was genuinely praising him or mocking him. He only remembered that he kept watching Song Yuhan's back. The event was a great success. After the performance, Song Yuhan said many words of thanks gracefully. At this moment, Song Yuhan patted Hee-gu's shoulder and said softly, it's a good thing you were here. Hee-gu, it was the first time Song Yuhan called his name. Hee-gu's palms were sweating with nerves, his body heating up. Song Yuhan suddenly leaned close to Hee-gu's ear and whispered softly, Hee-gu, do you want to try being with me? Hee-gu was startled. His secret crush had been discovered. The embarrassment and awkwardness of that moment felt like being caught red-handed. Song Yuhan continued, isn't this what you want? Song Yuhan thought Hee-gu was no different from others. They only wanted his looks, his fame, his money. Because this kind of mutually beneficial relationship was what Song Yuhan wanted. Besides, this kind of emotion was just a joke to him. Why humiliate oneself? After dinner, Song Yuhan made another phone call. Hee-gu opened his tablet. This 65-inch TV is so expensive, over 40,000 yuan. Hee-gu thought for a while, moved his fingers. 2 months' salary was gone. Hee-gu was a loner. He rarely spent money. In the future, he wouldn't get married, nor would he have children. What's the point of saving money? Although Hee-gu felt a little heartache, he thought about it. Earning money was just for spending. Spending money was just for happiness. Seeing Song Yuhan made him happy. After finishing the call, Song Yuhan lazily lay on the sofa. Hee-gu, come and give me a head massage. Hee-gu put down the tablet, sat next to him, and placed Song Yuhan's head on his lap. He massaged Song Yuhan's temples with moderate force. Song Yuhan closed his eyes and let out a light hum. He looked quite comfortable. Hee-gu couldn't help but smile slightly, wanting to lower his head and gently kiss his smooth forehead. He whispered, you're preparing for a concert, right? Song Yuhan replied, yes, but I should probably cut back on them. Donating money is fine, but it just takes too much energy, right? Hee-gu said gently, I know you prefer writing songs. Song Yuhan let out a light hum, then suddenly seemed to remember something. Hey, guess who I saw the other day? Who? Hee-gu asked. Your college boyfriend. He came back to the country. Hee-gu's hand paused. His emotions were stirred. Feng Zhen, you know he wasn't my boyfriend. Oh, then what was he? A fling? Song Yuhan laughed. But wait, weren't you still a virgin when you were with me? Higu said calmly, I told you we were just friends. Why bring up the past? Song Yuhan's displeased expression slightly angered Higu. You humiliated Feng Zhen back then and toyed with me. You were the clear winner, Song Yuhan. What more are you dissatisfied with? Song Yuhan looked at him with piercing eyes. Are we still together? Song Yuhan tilted his chin, staring at Higu without blinking, as if trying to see through Higu's expression. Guess what I told him? Higu's tone was flat. It doesn't matter. Song Yuhan smiled mischievously. I told him you're still in my harem. His expression at that moment was really something. Higu stood up and said, I don't want to talk about this. Song Yuhan grabbed his wrist roughly, his expression arrogant. What's wrong? Upset? No. Just not interested. Song Yuhan stood up, pulling Higu close under him, smiling. Don't pretend. As soon as you heard that name, your expression changed. Because of that guy, we got together. We were never together, right? Higu shouted, Song Yuhan. Higu laughed, pointing at himself and then at Song Yuhan. This is not what you call being together, and I'm not a part of your harem either. Song Yuhan's face turned cold. He let go of his hand. What did you say? Higu, do you really want to discuss our relationship? Is it necessary? Because Feng Zhen is. Song Yuhan interrupted, shouting, it's not necessary. Song Yuhan turned and walked out. There was only the sound of the door slamming shut. Higu sighed heavily. Why? It's hard for him to come by, yet we just argue. What's the point after all these years? Doesn't he know what kind of person Song Yuhan is? He saw a cell phone on the sofa. Song Yuhan doesn't take most things seriously. He's often careless. He picked up the cell phone and texted Xiao Song. Xiao Song, Yuhan's phone is with me. He was planning to take a day off for himself because he was too tired yesterday, but now he needs work to distract himself. When he stepped out of the company elevator, the phone rang urgently. He reacted instantly and hung up. He immediately realized it was Song Yuhan's phone and hastily redialed the number. Hello, Xiao Song. On the other end, Song Yuhan was furious. You dare hang up on my call, Higu? But the elevator just came out, the signal was bad. Song Yuhan took a deep breath, and after some static, Xiao Song's voice came through, Brother Higu, we're at Desheng Cinema. Sorry, I really can't get away today. When can you bring it over? No problem, I'll have my assistant deliver it now. Alright, have your assistant call me first when they arrive. I'll give them a work pass so they can come up themselves. Hand my phone to some random assistant? Are you kidding? Song Yuhan's annoyed voice came from afar over the phone. Xiao Song chuckled bitterly, Brother Higu, okay, I'll come over. After hanging up, Higu shook his head helplessly. Desheng Cinema is located in the North 6th Ring, getting there would mean crossing the entire capital. He just hoped there wouldn't be any traffic at this time. After driving for more than an hour, he finally arrived at Desheng Cinema. It's his first time at this so-called boyfriend's Hongdian without Desheng. The place was incredibly busy, at least 2 or 3 films were being shot here daily. Higu parked the car and called Xiao Song, Brother Higu, here's your work pass. Brother Han is shooting a commercial, come in and have a look, Xiao Song said. I'd rather not, just give him the phone. There's nothing interesting to see. As an outsider, I might get in the way of your work, Higuo replied calmly. Not at all, it's actually quite fun. Have a look, Xiao Song insisted. Higuo looked at Xiao Song feeling something odd. Realizing he might have been too pushy, Xiao Song said awkwardly, you had a fight with Brother Han, didn't you? Brother Han's in a pretty bad mood today. Why don't you go in and cheer him up? Otherwise, it's hard for us to work too. I'm not good at cheering people up, Higuo said very frankly, plus we didn't fight. How could he possibly argue with Song Jihan? Even talking back a couple of sentences is his limit. Xiao Song looked at him disappointedly and said, drive safely, you've worked hard. Higuo patted his shoulder and turned to get into the car. The car slowly made its way back. Not long after driving off, his phone rang. It was Xiao Song. As soon as he answered, he heard Xiao Song say in a lowered voice, awkwardly, Brother Higuo, Brother Han is angry, he wants you to come back. Angry? Higuo really couldn't understand Song Jihan's logic and said helplessly, okay. During rush hour, it was a bit congested. It took half an hour to get there. Xiao Song led him to a gate where shooting was happening. Standing at the door of the rest room, Xiao Song said cautiously, Brother Han, Brother Higuo is here. A cool voice came from the rest room, open the door. As soon as the door opened, they saw Song Jihan in the uniform of a Kuomintang Major General, standing in front of a mirror while a stylist fixed his belt. Song Jihan said, everyone out, I need to rest for a while. The stylist, makeup artist, and everyone else left. Xiao Song also followed them out. He Guo hesitated for a moment. As he was about to step in, Song Jihan glared at him. You, come here. He Guo closed the door and walked up to him. What's wrong? Feeling upset? Song Jihan took off his glasses and tossed them aside. Xiao Song told you to come in, why didn't you? Song Jihan, because of his long eyelashes, really dislikes wearing glasses. I was afraid of affecting your work. Nonsense. Song Yuhan pinched his chin. You just want to avoid me, right? Why would I avoid you? Song Yuhan sneered. Isn't it because I mentioned Feng Zhou? You seem quite upset about him. We haven't been in touch for so many years, that shouldn't count as being upset. Then why are you acting so strangely because of him? He Gu thought for a moment. I don't think I'm acting strangely. Song Yuhan raised an eyebrow. Are you contradicting me? He Gu sighed. Yuhan, what do you want? Talking to me in that tone, as if I'm being unreasonable. Song Yuhan pushed He Gu, almost knocking him to the ground. He Gu straightened his clothes. He didn't know how to comfort people. He just understood Song Yuhan, the fire in his heart. No matter the cause, as long as he doesn't vent it out, it will definitely cause chaos for everyone. Song Yuhan suddenly kicked the tea table apart. He roared at He Gu, are you fucking dead? Can't you say something nice? Can't you smile? I spend money on an MB who is more considerate than you. What use are you? He Gu's heart ached a bit, his lips trembled slightly. He didn't know what to do. He Gu paused for a long time. Then he spoke, Yuhan, I was wrong. Don't be angry. Although he didn't know where he went wrong. Song Yuhan looked at him coldly for a long time and said, take off your pants. He Gu looked at him in surprise. It wasn't like it was a show. There are people everywhere outside. No, since you don't even know how to coax people, you should at least learn how to calm someone down. The place is full of people, yet Song Yuhan shouted, no. Since you can't even coax someone, you should at least learn how to calm someone down. He Gu was stunned and hesitated before locking the door with a click. Song Yuhan casually locked the door, crossed his arms, and watched him. He Gu unzipped his jacket expressionlessly. Song Yuhan strode over, grabbed He Gu fiercely, pulled down the zipper, turned He Gu's back to him, and threw him onto the sofa. He played poker recklessly and relentlessly, mumbling with regret, it's a pity you never officially got together with Feng. Without a comparison, you'll never know that I'm even better in bed than him. He Gu clenched his teeth, his forehead was covered in sweat, and his eyes were slightly bloodshot. He endured both the pain and the indignity. In his heart, he told himself not to mind, to not be petty. What he wanted was Song Yuhan's company, and for that, he had to pay. The cost of not getting up is quite fair. Song Yuhan finished and tidied up his clothes. He Gu's legs were weak, and he lay sprawled on the sofa, unable to move for a long time. Seeing He Gu's miserable appearance, Song Yuhan's mood seemed to improve a bit. He pinched He Gu's cheek and showed a malicious smile. Did you enjoy the beating? He Gu glanced at him without saying anything. Song Yuhan patted He Gu's face and said, I'm asking you a question. Did you enjoy it? He Gu whispered, I did. At this moment, He Gu's face was flushed red. Song Yuhan bent down, gave a gentle kiss on the corner of He Gu's mouth, and said something that felt like a slap in the face, I enjoyed it too. Among all the people I've slept with, none are younger and prettier than you, but few are as captivating. You could say you're quite gifted. Song Yuhan's favorite exercise was playing poker, and He Gu was the one he had been with the longest. Previously, it was mentioned that Song Yuhan had displayed his poker skills in the lounge. After finishing, he turned around, walked to the mirror, tidied up his clothes, and said to He Gu, wait here for me. I'll take you out for some good food tonight. Song Yuhan hummed contentedly, left the room while swaggering out, and closed the door. He Gu leaned against the sofa, weakly adjusted his pants, fastened his belt, and looked blankly at the ceiling. His heart felt empty. He knew he was somewhat despicable, but he didn't love anyone else. He was nearly 30. He couldn't expect to live for many more years. He wanted to enjoy every minute and every second he had with Song Yuhan before he lost his charm. It would be nice to have some more memories. He didn't care how others lived or what they thought of him. He didn't want to deny his own feelings for the sake of pride. He liked Song Yuhan, so he just liked him. From yesterday to today, he was already exhausted. As he waited, he fell asleep on the sofa. He didn't know how long it had been when someone pushed the door open. He Gu woke up in a daze, looking confusedly at the door. He Gu Ge, why are you still here? Xiao Song looked at him in surprise. He Gu rubbed his eyes and replied, Yuhan told me to wait for him. Xiao Song awkwardly said, Han Ge left a long time ago. He went out to eat with the crew. I stayed behind to clean up. Higu was stunned for a moment, then regained his senses and tiredly got up. Oh, then I'll go home, he said. Xiao Song seemed a little reluctant. Han Ji was so busy this afternoon that he probably forgot. How about I take you out to eat? No need. You should go home and rest early, Higu replied. Xiao Song, feeling sympathetic, said, You must have had a hard time, Higu Ge. Higu said nothing more, picked up his keys, and left. As he left, his phone rang. On the other end, a voice said, Higu, it's me. After Higu had been used and discarded by Song Yuhan, he was left alone in the lounge. When he exited the room under Xiao Song's sympathetic gaze, he received a call from an unknown number. The voice on the other end said, Higu, it's me. Higu's heart tightened. Song Zhen, you're back in the country? When they met, Song Zhen was standing by the stairs of the restaurant, waiting for him. Higu felt dazed and emotional. Time had passed so quickly. Song Zhen hadn't changed much and still looked so good. His demeanor was even more composed than before, and the aura of wealth around him had grown stronger. His tailored trench coat made his figure look especially tall and upright. Higu softly called out, walking up with a smile and extending his hand, Song Zhen, long time no see. Song Zhen also smiled. As his hand clasped Higu's, he slightly pulled him closer and gave him a gentle hug. Song Zhen asked Higu, You look tired. Have you been working too hard lately? Higu replied, I'm in the construction business, working overtime is normal. I'm used to it. Higu brought a bottle of 1999 Romanée Conti. Higu didn't really know much about wine, but he knew Song Zhen liked it. He smiled slightly. Is this from Song Yuhan? The tone was not pleasant. Higu felt a bit awkward. Yes. Is it expensive? Not too much, Song Zhen replied, but then added, It's not something you would usually drink. Song Zhen looked at him and said, Time flies. Did Song Yuhan tell you that we met? Higu pretended to remain calm and said, Yes, he did. Song Zhen raised his eyebrows. It seems like you two are getting along well. Higu responded, It's okay, I guess. But he talks so much. Don't you often argue? Song Zhen's probing made Higu uncomfortable. Song Zhen said with concern, Higu, why are you putting yourself through this? Higu, can't you see? Song Zhen's words stabbed into Higu's heart like needles. Higu smiled wryly. Song Zhen, I think you misunderstand the relationship between Yuhan and me. After all these years, we've just been keeping each other company. His scandals, real or not, don't concern me much. Song Zhen clenched his fists and said through gritted teeth, So when Song Yuhan says you're part of his harem, he's not joking. Higu forced a smile. For all these years, have you and Song Yuhan just been friends with benefits? Song Zhen's voice was cold with a hint of anger. Higu paused and said, Song Zhen, my relationship with Yuhan has nothing to do with outsiders. Today is about welcoming you back, let's not talk about others. Song Zhen became emotional upon hearing Higu's response. What? I can't even ask? He shouted. If it weren't for Song Yuhan, you would have been mine. Higu could only sigh, let's not bring up the past. It's been so many years. Song Zhen moved closer, his eyes flashing with coldness. He said something that felt like a stab to the heart, You must like him, right? Higu's heart trembled slightly, and he lowered his head to hide his emotions. Song Zhen sneered, You like him, yet you've stayed by his side all these years, watching him switch partners one after another, without saying a word. Higu, are you blind? Higu suddenly threw his chopsticks to the ground, stood up, and looked at Song Zhen expressionlessly. Song Zhen, I didn't invite you to dinner to lecture me. Whether I'm blind or not has nothing to do with you. Let's not meet again. Song Zhen also stood up and shouted, I just can't accept this. How come you only have this strong sense of self-respect when it comes to Song Yuhan? Higu froze. Song Zhen reached out and grabbed Higu's arm, continuing, Why did you choose that bastard? He doesn't even like you. What are you after? What does he have that I can't give you? Song Zhen moved closer. Higu turned back and looked calmly at Song Zhen. It's not Song Yuhan's fault that he doesn't like me. He doesn't owe me anything, and I'm not after anything from him. We're all adults here. Song Zhen, it's time you stopped caring about my life. We both have our own paths to follow. Higu's voice was steady. Song Zhen watched him, speechless, as Higu turned and walked away, leaving him standing alone in the restaurant. I chose how to live my life, whether drinking water or doing anything else, it's up to me. Higu's heart ached deeply, and Song Zhen's words made his heart throb with pain. As long as he cut open his wounds himself, he could avoid more trouble. Higu had resigned, and some of his colleagues wanted to have a farewell drink. Higu was with these colleagues. He had booked a KTV room to let them have the farewell party in advance. As soon as he got out of the car, a middle-aged lady said, "Mr. He, is this the first time you're riding in this car? This car costs over $1 million, right?" The lady continued, "Mr. He, you're truly young and successful, and you're handsome too. Really, Mr. He, I'm not bragging. My niece would be a perfect match for you," she said hesitantly, with a cautious and tentative tone. "Ms. Yang, I appreciate your thoughts." He replied calmly, "I grew up in a family where my parents didn't get along. When I was in middle school, my father passed away. After my mother remarried, she never came to see me. I don't believe in marriage. That's why I won't get married." Higu glanced at her when he pushed the door into the private room. "Thank you for your kindness, Ms. Yang. In the future, I hope things unrelated to work won't be mentioned in front of me." Ms. Yang just muttered a couple of times, not knowing what to say. At this moment, Higu's phone vibrated in his hand. When he saw the screen displaying a private number, Higu's eyes lit up, and he immediately answered the call. It was Song Yuhan. What are you doing?" Song Yuhan's voice, with a lazy tone and slightly hoarse, sounded exceptionally sexy. After a brief silence, Higu replied, "I'm at a dinner party." Song Yuhan said, "Boring, come over and keep me company." Higu answered, "I can't leave now, maybe a bit later." "How much later?" Song Yuhan asked. "Around 10? There was a pause on the other end of the line. "No, come over now." Higu replied softly, "I really can't leave this dinner, but I'll try to come earlier, okay? Suit yourself." Song Yuhan's tone was clearly displeased. He hung up the phone right after saying that. Higu was still holding the phone, not yet turned around, when a hand patted him on the back. Higu saw Gu Kuangpei's bright smile and smiled back at him. Come on, go inside the room. What are you standing outside for?" Gu Kuangpei, Higu's superior at the company, was an extremely charismatic man. With his appearance, the story would only get more exciting. When Song Yuhan was bored, he would think of Higu. Last time, he told Higu to come to him. After angrily hanging up the phone, Higu held his phone, hesitating. The elevator doors opened, and he heard Gu Kuangpei's hearty laughter. He pulled himself together, smiled, and greeted him, "Mr. Gu." Gu Kuangpei asked what Higu was doing, urging him to join him in the private room. Higu said, "Just making a phone call." "Who was it?" Gu Kuangpei laughed, winking playfully. "Must be a well-known figure. Was it a friend reminding you to go home for dinner?" Higu chuckled, "No, it wasn't. Come on, they're almost all here." Gu Kuangpei looked at Higu and said, "You didn't eat much. Was it not to your taste?" "No, I just eat less at night. It's a habit." "Good habit." "Higu, what about the thing I talked to you about last time? Have you given it any thought?" Higu kept his head down, not saying a word. Gu Kuangpei smiled and shook his head. "You probably also think it's hard to understand. 30 years old and in such a stable position, why suddenly a big upheaval?" Higu responded, "I think Mr. Gu has considered every step thoroughly. And the salary over there is higher. It doesn't really count as a big upheaval." Gu Kuangpei's smile deepened, looking so confident. "Makes sense." He picked up a wine glass casually. Higu also quickly raised his glass, and said, "Let me toast Mr. Gu. I wish you great success in your new environment." While chatting with Higu, Gu Kuangpei noticed that Higu seemed restless. "What's wrong? Are you in a hurry to leave?" Higu awkwardly said, kind of." Gu Kuangpei said, "Then go ahead and leave." Gu Kuangpei asked, "Can you drive? Should I have my driver take you?" Higu replied, "No need, Mr. Gu, but, thank you. I'll treat you to a meal another day." "Alright, take care on the way." Last time, it was mentioned that Higu's little thoughts during the company gathering were noticed by Gu Kuangpei, who didn't insist on keeping Higu there. In this episode, we can't help but feel sorry for Higu. He arrived at Song Yuhan's apartment at around 8:30 p.m. On his way, he bought Song Yuhan's favorite yellow small wontons. After pressing the doorbell, he was stunned by the person who opened the door. A very handsome young man stood before him, looking at him. His gaze finally stopped on the wontons in Higu's hand. He reached out, took the plastic bag, and said, "Thanks. How much?" Higu calmly replied, 46 yuan. "Who is it?" Song Yuhan's voice came from inside. Higu tried to walk quickly towards the elevator, but it was too late. He heard Song Yuhan's voice from behind, "Higu." Song Yuhan glanced at him, then looked at the wontons. He chuckled, "Why are you here now? Bringing takeout?" Higu expressionlessly said, "You have guests. Go ahead and be busy." Song Yuhan impatiently said, "Come back." He carefully observed Higu, finding it interesting. He had never seen Higu's expressions other than in bed. The young man asked, "Han Ji, who is he?" Song Yuhan ignored the young man, grabbing Higu's face and bringing it close to his own. Not bad, you haven't drunk too much, he said, then took the wontons from him. Song Yuhan casually said, I told you to come at 6, but you didn't. Why are you here now? He rolled his eyes. Did I say I'd wait for you? Higu looked at his watch and replied, no, you didn't. I can leave if you want. Song Yuhan ordered Higu to tidy up the bowls before leaving. Otherwise, the room would smell. The young man playfully said, Han Ji, I can clean up. Let him go. Song Yuhan smiled at him and suddenly asked, Higu, do you know him? I've seen him on TV. Can't remember his name, the young man replied. Song Yuhan said to the young man, introduce yourself. The young man coldly said, my name is Zhuang Jieyu. While eating the wontons, Song Yuhan said casually, Higu, Zhuang Jieyu is your type, right? Doesn't he look like a young Song Zhen? Higu didn't expect Song Yuhan to bring up Song Zhen again. Higu shook his head, not at all. He wondered, with Song Yuhan's fickle personality, what was he trying to do now? Song Yuhan, be a human for once. Previously, Song Yuhan had found a young boy before Higu arrived and had deliberately said the boy looked like Song Zhen, stirring Higu's displeasure. Years ago, Higu. Of course, he said they don't look alike. Really? Isn't it just the same fair-skinned face? The age seems to match too. Song Yuhan smiled slyly at Higu. Not really. Higu walked over, started to clean up their bowls, and took them to the kitchen. Song Yuhan seemed to have had enough fun, ruffled Zhuang Jieyu's hair, and went to get ready, then entered the bedroom. Zhuang Jieyu responded, his gaze drifting toward the kitchen, observing Higu. The man had a good figure and decent looks. Just as Higu finished washing the dishes and turned around, he saw Zhuang Jieyu standing with his arms crossed, leaning against the doorframe, watching him. Zhuang Jieyu suddenly stepped forward and hugged Higu. Hey, wanna have some fun? Hearing this, Higu immediately pushed him away and asked, what do you mean? Upset at being pushed away, Zhuang Jieyu angrily said, am I not good enough for you? You'd be lucky. He added, Han Ji told me to get ready. Can't you just cooperate? Higu paused for a moment and said, you misunderstood. Ju Han doesn't play this game. Zhuang Jieyu chuckled, doesn't play? Then who have I been sleeping with before? Raising an eyebrow, Zhuang Jieyu continued, you know Han Ji has a big appetite, right? Sometimes one person can't satisfy him. He likes to play around. We've already had fun together. Higu pushed Zhuang Jieyu's hand away, saying coldly, I don't play around. Zhuang Jieyu got angry, saying, I'm not that type of person. He doesn't even look at me usually. Frustrated, Zhuang Jieyu grabbed Higu by the collar and forcefully kissed him. Higu was stunned, still in his first genuine kiss, even though Zhuang Jieyu kissed him in anger. But the boy's technique was impressive. Higu pushed Zhuang Jieyu away, wiping the saliva from his lips, unsure how to explain under Song Yuhan's angry gaze. Song Yuhan's furious voice came from behind, what are you two doing? Higu was still in shock from the kiss. Although it was Zhuang Jieyu who initiated it, Zhuang Jieyu looked innocent, saying, Han Ji, didn't you tell me to get ready? Song Yuhan didn't look at Zhuang Jieyu. What did I ask you to prepare? I told you to prepare flowers. Zhuang Jieyu's face changed slightly upon hearing this. Song Yuhan was usually so generous and witty. It was rare to see him speak harshly to anyone. Squinting his eyes, Song Yuhan reached out and pinched Higu's chin. You seemed to enjoy it, didn't you? Can't go a few days without me, and you get this desperate? Higu knew that saying anything would be useless. Whenever Song Yuhan was unhappy, the best thing for Higu to do was disappear. But as Higu turned to leave, Song Yuhan raised his chin and said, if you dare step out of this room, don't ever think of seeing me again. This sentence had its effect. Higu had no choice but to try to explain again. He misunderstood your instructions. He didn't misunderstand. Song Yuhan looked at Higu, his lips curling into a cruel smile. Higu's body trembled. Would Song Yuhan really? Song Yuhan came over and tugged at Higu's tie. For so many years, you've always been obedient. Will you listen to me today too? Higu's Adam's apple moved up and down. Ju Han, don't go too far. He could watch Song Yuhan be with others because he had no position to intervene, but he couldn't participate. That was too disgusting. How do you define too far? Was kissing him too far? Song Yuhan saw Higu kissing another in his home, and it infuriated him. Higu, kissing someone else, shouldn't that be my fault? This sentence seemed to irritate Song Yuhan. He grabbed Higu by the collar. He pressed him against the wall, exuding a cold aura. This seemingly calm Song Yuhan was on the verge of madness today. Song Yuhan asked if Higu would play more exciting games with him later, Would he cooperate? Zhuang Jieyu was almost overwhelmed by the tense atmosphere between them. It was just a kiss. Song Yuhan's reaction seemed a bit excessive. At this point, Song Yuhan squinted, glancing over Higu's face and finally resting on his lips. He rubbed Higu's lips with his thumb. Then, he forcefully kissed him, aggressively. Higu didn't know how to respond to this kiss that felt like punishment. Despite his nervousness, his teeth clashed and couldn't hold on. Song Yuhan's tongue invaded, prying open his teeth, and wandered freely in his mouth. Higu gradually started to lose his breath, a blush creeping up his face. In a daze, Song Yuhan began pulling at his clothes. Higu grasped Song Yuhan's hand tightly, shouting, "Juhan! Today is a special day. Let's play something different." He watched as Song Yuhan tugged, tearing Higu's belt apart. Higu panicked, "Juhan, stop messing around." "Who's messing around?" Song Yuhan's strength was so great that ordinary people couldn't resist. Higu desperately tried to push him away. "Juhan, let me go." Song Yuhan's menacing steps approached. "Don't move. You canceled my date, shouldn't you make it up to me? Maybe someone watching would be even more exciting. Feel it properly. Did he kiss you better, or did I make you feel better?" His hands already stripped away Higu's last line of defense. Higu's heart ached, tears welled up, and he forcefully pushed Song Yuhan away. Song Yuhan staggered a few steps but quickly regained his balance. Higu looked disheveled, clothes and tie askew, trousers pulled at his feet, his face full of anger. Song Yuhan hadn't expected the usually quiet and obedient Higu to react so strongly. The humiliation on Higu's face left him stunned. Higu shakily pulled up his trousers. Before Song Yuhan could react, Higu had already run out, bolting out the door like a whirlwind. It was the first time Higu had ever resisted Song Yuhan. At that moment, Zhuang Jieyu, seeing the angry Song Yuhan, became scared, standing off to the side, not knowing what to do. Song Yuhan's face turned incredibly dark. He viciously kicked a stool over. His Adam's apple bobbed up and down as he stood there for a long time without moving, lost in thought. After a while, Song Yuhan coldly stared at Zhuang Jieyu. "If you touch him again, you're done in this circle." Zhuang Jieyu gasped, nodding like a chicken pecking rice, sorry, Han Ji." Exhausted, Song Yuhan pinched his nose bridge, his mood plummeting, and told Zhuang Jieyu to leave. At that moment, Higu, who had run out of Song Yuhan's place, felt like he couldn't hold on. He desperately ran back to his car, eager to start it and head home. Halfway there, he suddenly felt a wave of nausea, grabbed the steering wheel, and pulled over to the side of the road. Higu leaned wearily against the seat back. Thinking about that house, the car had been given to him by Song Yuhan. Higu reached into the glove compartment. He found some tissues, wiped his mouth, and took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. His mind was filled with chaotic thoughts about Song Yuhan and the incident. After a while, Higu started the car again, heading towards his own home, feeling both a sense of relief and uncertainty about what the future might hold. He took out half a pack of cigarettes. Over the past 6 years, Song Yuhan had not treated him badly. Regarding the house and car Song Yuhan gave him, he neither felt burdened by it nor grateful. These things didn't mean much to him, just like how he willingly liked someone who could never like him back. He would only repeatedly remind himself that if one day Song Yuhan had an accident, he might be forever lonely. He thought that after all these years of getting along, he could tolerate many of Song Yuhan's bad habits. But today, he still underestimated how much of a jerk Song Yuhan could be. He felt that his feelings for Song Yuhan were a joke. He was waiting for Song Yuhan to say break up. Now he felt the day was not far away. In the distance, car headlights shone, making Higu think of someone getting out of the car and walking over. Ji Feng saw Feng Zheng getting out of the car. Feng Zheng approached Higu and said, "I'm here to apologize for what happened last time." Higu indicated that it wasn't necessary to take it to heart. Feng Zheng suddenly grabbed Higu's hand excitedly. "Higu, I really miss you. I miss those times we had together." Feng Zheng's word shocked Higu. Could those days ever come back? Higu and Feng Zheng used to be each other's first loves. If it weren't for Song Yuhan, perhaps Higu wouldn't have fallen in love. Feng Zheng's arrival made Higu a bit embarrassed at this time. Higu let out a sigh. "Feng Zheng, what do you want to do?" Feng Zheng said, "I promise not to interfere with your matters with Song Yuhan anymore. Can we be friends?" Higu said helplessly, "As long as you do as you say, we can still be friends." Feng Zheng smiled, "I'll keep my word. When you're free, let me treat you to a meal. Let's go to a bar for a drink." Higu said tiredly, "No, I'm too tired today and I don't know anyone there." Feng Zheng chuckled, "You're still like this." As he mingled with strangers, "You don't have to be scared with me around." There was a slight, hardly noticeable accent in that voice. He-gu didn't pretend to be calm. It's not about being scared. I'm genuinely a bit tired. Seeing that He-gu was truly tired, Feng Zheng let him go home to rest and proposed to meet up another day. He-gu calmed his emotions and drove home. After that day, he and Song Yuhan had no contact for half a month. Considering their last argument was the most intense in their 6 years of knowing each other, He-gu was now tormented by the longing. He felt like he was chasing the fuse of a bomb. It was unknown whether the bomb would explode first or if he would stop first. But no matter where he stopped, the bomb would definitely explode, and he would definitely get hurt. He knew that if he stopped earlier, the damage would be less, but he couldn't restrain himself. Half a month had passed, and he wondered if Song Yuhan was still angry. He-gu thought several times about calling Song Yuhan but couldn't muster the courage. There are so many people in the world who like Song Yuhan, and yet I am so close to him. I should be content, right? At that moment, Ling Sheng's phone rang. It was Xiaosong. He hurriedly answered, "Hello? He-gu, Han Ji is in some trouble here. Can you come over?" After containing the situation, He-gu rushed to TTV as fast as he could. Sure enough, the entrance was jam-packed with crazed fans. When He-gu reached the door amidst a crowd of young girls, he looked rather jealous as if he had drunk vinegar. The bouncer at the door glanced at him. "Are you?" "I'm He-gu, the bodyguard." The bouncer let him in. The waiter led He-gu with his bag, but before reaching the room, they could hear Song Juhan having a tantrum inside. "I told you to go home. Who the hell do you think you are?" An anxious Xiaosong said. "Han Ji, outside are all your fans, you can't look like this." "Fans my ass, what the hell are fans? They're just a bunch of idiots. Do they know me? Do I know them?" There was a scuffle inside the room. He-gu pushed the door open and saw Xiaosong and a beefy guy blocking Song Juhan, with 2 male waiters standing beside, looking utterly flustered. When Song Juhan saw He-gu, he was taken aback and raised his eyebrows. "Why are you here?" He looked at Xiaosong. "You called him? Who asked you to act on your own?" "Han Ji, listen to me, you can berate me however you want when you're sober tomorrow, but now please listen to me. If you get photographed like this, President Song will kill me." Xiaosong was almost crying, continuously giving He-gu pleading looks. But Song Juhan was now full of drunken rage, and likely to explode under the pressure of his fans. If he did something regrettable, it would be troublesome. He-gu approached and said, "Juhan, calm down a bit. There really are a lot of your fans outside, and there might be reporters too." Before he could finish, Song Juhan grabbed him by the collar and bellowed, "Who the fuck let you come? Get lost." He-gu didn't argue with him. Instead, he gently held his hand. "Juhan, you don't usually drink much. Don't let the alcohol control you, okay?" With He-gu's comfort, Song Yuhan managed to suppress his feelings, remaining silent and not causing a scene. Song Yuhan pushed his hand away, gruffly saying, "I don't want to go home. It's suffocating here. Get those idiots outside to move away." Preview of the next episode, Song Yuhan grabs He-gu's hair and lifts him. Song Yuhan's bad temper might only be calmed by He-gu. Perhaps the warmth He-gu offers is reserved solely for Song Yuhan. In the last episode, He-gu went to PTV to pick up Song Yuhan. To calm Song Yuhan's anger, He-gu pressed his shoulders. He let Song Yuhan stay on the sofa, gently massaging the nape of his neck. "Relax, I'll take you home in a bit. Just calm down for now, okay?" Song Yuhan closed his eyes, feeling comforted by the massage. His long eyelashes fluttered slightly, and his breathing steadied considerably. He-gu looked at his fluttering eyelashes, remembering his capricious behaviors, and couldn't help but smile bitterly. Song Yuhan really enjoyed the massages He-gu gave him, so He-gu had deliberately learned the skill to have more reasons to stay close to Song Yuhan. In fact, He-gu had done many things to get closer to Song Yuhan, but perhaps Song Yuhan would never realize it in his lifetime. After a while, Song Yuhan really calmed down, so He-gu quickly poured him a glass of water. Song Yuhan took a sip, then opened his eyes and asked, "Since when did you and Xiaosong become so close?" He-gu replied, "We are not that close." Song Yuhan sneered, "Didn't you ask Xiaosong to call you over today? You thought I didn't know you called him tonight? I was right next to him." He-gu didn't know how to explain, so he reluctantly fell silent. Song Yuhan chuckled with a hint of sarcasm in his tone, "It's only been half a month. I thought you'd last longer." He-gu felt a heavy weight in his chest, unable to lift his head. Song Yuhan took another sip of water before slamming the cup onto the table. Rudely grabbing He-gu's hair, Song Yuhan forced him to lift his head and pressed his lips against He-gu's, aggressively exploring He-gu's mouth. Then he let him go. He-gu licked his sweet lips, his clear black and white eyes unblinkingly watching Song Yuhan. his slightly bewildered look captivating Song Yuhan. The hatred in my heart, you miss me, right? Higu nodded slightly, thinking about it every day. Preview of the next episode. Higu, you're very simple. That's your biggest advantage. In the previous episode, Song Jihan pinched Higu's chin, asking if Higu missed him. His gaze was like looking at his own possession. Then, he pointed at Higu's heart, asking if this part was rather small, and then with his other hand, he pinched Higu's waist, or was this part smaller? Higu held his face gently and lightly tapped. Both. Song Jihan laughed, suddenly feeling much better. I know Higu can't leave me. Higu smiled faintly. Let's go home. Song Jihan didn't move. He caressed Higu's face with his slender fingers, his eyes deep. Do I need to tell you who I mess around with? Higu's smile faded. Song Jihan smirked. It's true. Sometimes I come across ones that are too careless, so I find too. He leaned into Higu, tracing Higu's lips delicately with his. But I never involve you. Do you know why? Higu was expressionless. I don't play. There's no way even if you want to. I don't allow it. Song Jihan pinched Higu's face. You're very clean. From graduating college to now, always with me. Your social circle is very simple. I don't like complications. That's why I like your cleanliness. Understand? Don't let anyone touch you, because that's your only advantage. Higu looked at his favorite face, only to find it blurred, so blurred that it was almost unrecognizable. His heart ached as if it was being wrenched, making it hard to compose himself. In the end, he just nodded calmly, his face devoid of any emotion. Song Juwon frowned with a curse, kissed him fiercely as if out of breath. Let's go home. Higu stood up and followed behind Song Juwon, staring at his silhouette, which even from the back seemed to radiate light. Higu had followed this figure for 10 years, trying his best to get closer, and closer still. But even so, the red thread between them would never disappear. Even if he managed to grasp a piece of Song Juwon's opinion, what could it change? Higu took a deep breath, unable to suppress a laugh. Actually, it was pretty much as he had guessed. Song Juwon hadn't cut ties with him all these years simply because they were comfortable playing poker together and for various kinds of safety. Today's words just proved his guess. He and Song Juwon were just engaging in a quid pro quo. He needed safety, and I needed companionship. We each got what we needed. Next episode preview, Song Juwon sees the cut on Higu's eyebrow and gets furious. Higu was hurt while protecting Song Juwon, and Song Juwon is enraged. Song Juwon walks through the hallway and stands at the window, glancing at the chaotic entrance, cursing something under his breath. Higu takes off the protective cover over his head. I won't let them get close to you. Just keep your head down and follow me. I'm just going for a drink, not committing a crime. Song Juwon tries to pull down his clothes. Being photographed in your current state doesn't look too good. Higu clutches the towel, not letting it be pulled away, his eyes immersed and unblinkingly staring at Song Jihan. Be good, I'll take you out. Once you're in the car, everything will be fine. Song Jihan gazes closely into Higu's deep, ink-like West African eyes. That sort of kiss, unique to mature men, calms his restless heart, and he nods slightly. Higu uses one hand to cover his face, the other grabbing Song Jihan's hand, and keeps his shoulder in check with the other. Surrounded by Xiaosong and the staff, they walk out amid ear-piercing screams that explode around them. Suddenly, a dark object is hurled their way. By the time Higu realizes it's an attack, it's too late to block. He grunts in pain, feeling a sharp ache in his foot and a rush of blood in his right eye, blurring his vision unbearably. Brother Higu, Xiaosong cries out. Song Jihan, who had been walking with his head down in silence, stops suddenly. The next second, as if wanting to open his shirt, Higu tightly embraces his head with great strength. The hand that Song Jihan had been shaking also tightens. Their palms sweat as they touch. It's nothing. We're almost at the car. Song Jihan feels confused. Higu, what's wrong with you? Higu stuffs Song Jihan into the car. Song Jihan looks at Higu's brow, now broken and bleeding, his face contorting with worry. Damn, which asshole did this? But suddenly, Song Jihan pulls open the car door. Higu wants to stop him, but it's too late. The crazy surge hits once more, bringing a splitting headache. As Song Jihan's gaze moved past the frenzied fans, he remained as calm as a bystander in such a chaotic scene. Finally, his eyes locked onto a journalist carrying a camera. He grabbed his bodyguard, insisting without delay to bring that person over. The bodyguard quickly made his way through the fans. Preview, Higu sees Song Jihan standing up for him, feeling warmth inside like the sun in full bloom. Song Jihan speaks tender and affectionate words to his fans. Yet, this is the genius, creative type singer Song Ji-han, crafted by countless capital, not the person Higu knows. Song Ji-han runs his slender fingers through his curly hair, takes a deep breath, and flashes a charming smile at the fans. Why aren't you girls going home to sleep at this late hour? What will you do about wrinkles? The fans let out sky-piercing screams. I had a few drinks with a friend I was accompanying to a trial session today, feel a bit guilty. You've taken photos of me, just keep them to yourselves, don't spread them around, okay? His voice is gentle and husky, with a hint of coquettish charm that could captivate any listener. The fans seemed, as if they were about to faint, promising eagerly and excited beyond control. Just then, the bodyguard brought the journalist over. Song Ji-han grabbed his breath and looked at it. The bloodstains on it made Song Ji-han's heart ache. He restrained the urge to hit someone, grabbed the reporter by the collar, and dragged him to the car door. He was extremely tall, nearly 1.9 meters, towering over the reporter like a giant. He pointed to the river valley. He said uncompromisingly, "You heard him, apologize." Higu was still bleeding from the corner of his brow, which was now a patch of red. The reporter was frightened and hastily nodded, offering an apology. Higu didn't even look at him, just urged Song Ji-han to get in the car quickly. Song Ji-han said goodbye to the fans and then got into the car, closing the door with a huff. Xiao Zhuang, worried he might cause more trouble, quickly drove away. Song Ji-han leaned back in his seat, glaring at Higu and asked, "Does it hurt?" Higu smiled and said, "It doesn't hurt." Thinking about how Song Ji-han had grabbed the reporter and demanded an apology, he felt a warmth in his heart like the remaining sunshine. Even if he was lying in the hospital, he was happy. He couldn't hide the smile on Gu's face. "What are you laughing at?" Gu is not someone who loves to laugh. In fact, he rarely has too many expressions. In Song Yuhan's impression, it seems that it has been a long time since Gu laughed like this. To say the least, it is quite pleasing to the eye. Preview of the next episode, Song Yuhan says, Gu can protect himself, can he still be considered a man? Song Yuhan also has a gentle side. Can Gu's love be reciprocated? Gu's eyes fell on Song Yuhan's face, unwilling to look away. "You were really handsome just now." Song Yuhan's curly hair was somewhat disheveled, adding a sense of charm amidst a casual demeanor with a hint of decadence. Song Yuhan chuckled, "When am I not handsome?" Gu squeezed his hand and said, "Yuhan, thank you." Song Yuhan brushed his short bangs, looking at his freshly bandaged wound. He said, "A man who can't protect himself, can he still be considered a man? You really scared me just now." If Song Yuhan had gone crazy after getting out of the car, I really wouldn't know how to handle it tonight, but thinking about Song Yuhan's appearance just now, I was still afraid it would get photographed. "About your photo," Song Yuhan said nonchalantly, "the reporter's photos won't be published. There is not much problem with the fans' photos, it's just a bit unsightly, not that serious." Xiao Song warned Han, "Brother, don't take it lightly. President Song is definitely going to want to talk to you. Let him. What's he going to do, eat me?" Song Ji-han yawned indifferently, "Not going to the apartment. Take us back to the villa in the countryside." The two entered the villa. Using Shay's voice, Song Ji-han said, "Don't turn on the light," then turned over and pulled Higu into his arms, with his hand cradling Higu's head, fingers interlocked, staring at Higu with a displeased expression on his face. His eyes conveyed distress. Higu simply reassured Song Ji-han, comforting him, "I'm really okay." At this moment, Higu felt that everything Song Ji-han did was worth it. Song Ji-han fiercely said, "Damn it, if it weren't for the crowd earlier, watch how I would have dealt with him." Higu touched Song Ji-han's face and gently laughed. Song Ji-han said, "Don't laugh," and kissed him unexpectedly. This kiss was something Higu had never experienced before, so gentle was Song Ji-han that it made Higu fall for him all over again. Next episode preview, Higu is lost in Song Ji-han's tenderness. Song Ji-han's kiss made Higu feel the gentleness, a kiss that lasted a long time, until Higu was almost out of breath, reluctantly pushing Song Ji-han away. Song Ji-han gently touched Higu's wound, saying with distress, "The wound isn't deep, just a scrape near the eyebrow. It shouldn't bleed, right?" Higu lifted Song Ji-han's face gently. "You're really okay? You had quite a lot to drink. Go get some rest." At this moment, Song Ji-han's face showed signs of sleepiness. Yawning, he said to Higu, "You go take a shower first. I'll wait for you in the room." After Higu finished showering, he pushed open the bedroom door upstairs. He saw Song Ji-han asleep on the bed, still dressed. Higu went to the bathroom, got a wet towel, and gently cleaned Song Ji-han's hands. Then, he started to undress him, but halfway through, Song Ji-han woke up. Squinting his eyes, He looked at Higu blankly, his Adam's apple sliding up and down, but he didn't speak. He closed his eyes but couldn't fall back asleep. Higu couldn't help but smile. He tucked Song Ji-han into the blanket and slid in himself. The blanket was still a bit cool. As Higu got under the covers, Song Ji-han instinctively moved towards his warmth, wrapping his arms around him. Higu rested his arm on Song Ji-han's waist and quietly watched him sleep. For Higu, this moment was truly priceless. Higu was used to getting up early. He turned over, got out of bed, and quietly went downstairs to start preparing breakfast. Higu took the TV remote and turned on the TV, wanting to see if yesterday's incident had caused any ripples. Thankfully, there was indeed some news, but nothing official, just some blurry photos taken by fans. It didn't stir up much trouble. It wasn't until almost 10 o'clock that some noises came from upstairs. Then he heard Song Ji-han shouting, "Higu!" Higu grunted as Song Yoo-han had just taken a bath. Wearing only sleep pants, his bare upper body showcased his beautifully toned muscles. Song Yoo-han's physique was the type that looks slim-clothed but muscular undressed. Such a build is very camera-friendly. Song Yoo-han grabbed his shoulder and poked at the gauze on Higu's beautiful corner. "How is it now? Does it hurt?" "No, it doesn't hurt anymore," Song Yoo-han said. "You've almost forgotten, this counts as a work injury. What reward would you like?" Higu rubbed his waist and said with a smile, "A kiss from you will do." Song Yoo-han bent down and kissed him, taking advantage of the rare opportunity. "I'll ask you one last time, what reward do you want?" Higu didn't expect Song Yoo-han to be serious. Naturally, he wouldn't pass up such an opportunity and said without hesitation, "Accompany me on my birthday." Higu, in fact, has never made a big deal of his birthdays. At this moment, he needed a reason for Song Yoo-han to accompany him. Song Yoo-han readily agreed, "Sure, when? Any day next month." He knew Song Yoo-han was busy and couldn't possibly pay hundreds of thousands or even millions in penalties to adjust his schedule just to accompany him on his birthday. Song Yoo-han kissed his temple with a smile. "I like this about you, so understanding." Higu chuckled dryly. He just patted Song Yoo-han's face and said, "Come down to eat." Higu got him 2 hangover pills. "Why did you suddenly drink yesterday?" Song Yoo-han swallowed the hangover pills with water and then let out a contented sigh. "I revised it over 10 times and finally got it to my satisfaction. I'm in a good mood, congratulations." "Can I listen to it?" "You're looking for a little comfort." Song Yoo-han seemed to think of something and suddenly burst into a smile. That pure joy from within made him look somewhat ambitious and incredibly handsome. Only music could make Song Yoo-han show such a smile. Higu also smiled. The greatest benefit of liking someone is gaining these little things in the process. Perhaps for Song Yoo-han, such casual words and actions are commonplace. Every action, in Higu's eyes, can transform into ambiguous meanings and values. Song Yoo-han glanced at Higu, who was staring at him. What was Higu thinking? "Come here." Higu snapped back to reality from his daydreaming, beckoned by Song Yoo-han. "What's wrong?" Just as Higu stood up, intending to walk over to Song Yoo-han, Song Yoo-han suddenly grabbed Higu's hand and lifted him up, walking towards the sofa. Song Yoo-han placed Higu on the sofa and said, "Such a leisurely time, we should do something serious." After finishing, Song Yoo-han pressed himself on Higu and eagerly began to undo Higu's pants. Just as Song Yoo-han was about to start racing, the phone inconveniently rang. Higu told Song Yoo-han to answer the phone. Song Yoo-han glanced at the screen, and it was his father, Song Hee, calling. Song Yoo-han showed Higu the phone and said dismissively, "It's nothing, let's continue." But from the phone, Song Hee's voice could be heard. Song Yoo-han wasn't fazed at all and intensified the impact of the race. Higu couldn't withstand the pressure of the race and accidentally made a noise. On the other end, Song Hee paused. "What are you doing?" Song Yoo-han looked at the bullied Higu, feeling quite pleased. "Listening to music, Dad." "Did you hear what I said? Don't be so indifferent. Reporters can dig up a story from even the smallest detail." Song Yoo-han tried to persuade Song Yoo-han to restrain himself. "Got it, Dad. Compared to you, I think I'm pretty well behaved." Song Yoo-han's eyes twinkled with a teasing smile, still not giving up the rhythm of the race while on the phone. "And don't try to hide it. Last month, the photos of you with the young model ended up in my hands," Song Hee shouted over the phone. "Shut up. It's none of your business," Song Yoo-han replied. Song Yoo-han chuckled, tossing the phone aside. He didn't want the phone to interfere with the thrill of his race. Song Hee's voice continued to shout from the phone, "Song Yoo-han. Are you listening to me?" Perhaps to make up for his recklessness, Song Yoo-han wasn't very gentle with Higu over the next 2 days. Apart from making Higu cry and beg for mercy, Song Yoo-han was an impeccable lover. When Song Yuhan wanted to be good to someone, he could drown them in affection and sweetness. Just one affectionate glance or a whispered sweet nothing in his ear felt like a cannonball wrapped in honey, striking right to the heart. It turns out that even Song Yuhan could be clingy and cute when he didn't want to let go of Hee-gu. Hee-gu remembered when Song Yuhan fought with Feng Zheng over him, causing Hee-gu to misunderstand and think they were in love. Years later, Hee-gu still remembered the first time he caught them cheating, and how Song Yuhan laughed uncontrollably as if Hee-gu was the biggest joke in the world. Fortunately, he had grown up now. Hee-gu enjoyed the good treatment from Song Yuhan and endured the bad. He no longer had any extra expectations. 2 days quickly passed. The driver came to pick them up and take them back to the city. Hee-gu asked the driver to drop him off at his company. Nanchuan Group's headquarters was located in the busiest part of the CBD. The driver stopped the car at the building's main entrance. Song Yuhan was lounging on Hee-gu's body in the car. Slowly opening his eyes, he lazily said, "We're here, we're at the company," Hee-gu said, pushing his lips. Song Yuhan wrapped his arms around Hee-gu's waist and whined, "Don't go to work. It's better to stay with me." Hee-gu ruffled his hair and said, "I still have to work. You don't make much money anyway, and it's exhausting." Song Yuhan snorted. "You see on the news how people work themselves to death all the time. If you keep going like this, your body will collapse sooner or later." Hee-gu replied, "I exercise every week, so I'm still in good shape." Song Yuhan looked displeased. Hee-gu gently pinched his chin, leaned in, and kissed him on the lips. Hee-gu felt a bit reluctant. Sometimes, he wished he lived in a world where it was just him and Song Yuhan, but that wasn't possible. As Hee-gu got out of the car, he noticed the license plate of the car next to him looked familiar. At that moment, Gu Kuangpei walked over and smiled. "Hee-gu, what a coincidence." "President Gu," Hee-gu greeted. Gu Kuangpei pointed to the bandage on Hee-gu's face. "What happened to your face?" The smell of alcohol wafted over. "Just a little scrape, nothing serious." "Have you been drinking?" Gu Kuangpei's face was flushed, and his eyes were hazy, but he seemed to be in a good mood. Gu Kuangpei slung his arm over Hee-gu's shoulder, laughing. "I had a social engagement at noon. My friend brought some good wine." He smacked his lips as if savoring the memory. Hee-gu smiled. "Seems like you enjoyed it, President Gu. Can you walk okay?" "No problem." Despite saying it was fine, Gu Kuangpei's steps were unsteady, his hand still resting on Hee-gu's shoulder. "Let's take the internal elevator so the employees won't see," Gu Kuangpei suggested. Just then, a cold voice came from behind. "Hee-gu." Hee-gu turned around to see Song Yuhan, who surprisingly hadn't left yet. Although he wore sunglasses, his impeccable figure and sharp features made it easy to recognize him as someone extraordinary. Gu Kuangpei also turned around, squinting as he sized up Song Yuhan. He thought, "This guy seems familiar, what's going on?" Song Yuhan asked, giving Hee-gu a pointed look, urging him to get back in the car. Although there weren't many people around, what if someone sharp-eyed noticed them? Song Yuhan rudely pointed at Gu Kuangpei. "Who's this last-time guy?" Hee-gu lowered his voice and said, "You should leave." Gu Kuangpei smiled. "Hee-gu, is this your friend?" Hee-gu responded awkwardly, "Yes." No one here was a fool. Gu Kuangpei was as cunning as a fox. Song Yuhan's inexplicable hostility didn't seem like the behavior of an ordinary friend. When Song Yuhan heard the words last time, he sized up Gu Kuangpei, reluctant to believe it. Hee-gu was different from Song Yuhan. Song Yuhan used to only like women when he was younger, but later, he found that trying something new wasn't so bad, and he adapted quickly. But Hee-gu had always been strictly gay. Song Yuhan hadn't known that Hee-gu had such a handsome, familiar last time. Song Yuhan hated anyone who got close to Hee-gu. He was Hee-gu's only man, and he instinctively felt that Hee-gu belonged to him alone. Anyone approaching Hee-gu was an enemy. Where did this last time come from, anyway? In the next episode preview, Gu Kuangpei, usually so composed, acted a bit out of character today, likely due to the alcohol. He extended his hand toward Song Yuhan. "Hello, I'm Gu. May I ask for your name?" Song Yuhan neither extended his hand nor replied. The atmosphere instantly dropped to freezing. Hee-gu felt like his head was going to explode. He pulled Gu Kuangpei aside in a panic and said, "President Gu, I'm sorry. Let's head back to the office. I'll explain everything later." Gu Kuangpei retracted his hand, a teasing smile playing on his lips. "You look like that celebrity, right? The one who shoots commercials?" Song Yuhan's eyes behind his sunglasses were as sharp as ever, eyeing him up and down. Hee-gu sensed that Song Yuhan was about to explode. He felt like he was stuck between a rock and a hard place and wished he could disappear. There was no way Gu Qiangpei would let Song Yuhan take him down. He looked but did not retaliate, with a slight smile, said, "I especially like your ad, long and jumpy, quite celebratory." Song Yuhan sneered, "I'm not filming an ad, but you, drinking so heavily at noon, seem a bit suspicious." "Yuhan, don't say that." He Gu panicked, "You should go back first, okay? This is a company, people are coming and going." Song Yuhan still wanted to make trouble, but he noticed that people around were already paying attention to them. His long fingers slightly lowered his sunglasses, revealing sharp eyes reflecting Han's. A sneer twisted on his lips. After glancing at Gu Qiangpei turned around and got in the car. After Song Yuhan left, Gu let out a heavy sigh and then looked at Gu Qiangpei's face, not daring to say a word. Gu Qiangpei raised an eyebrow and said, "Didn't expect you to know Song Yuhan." The high school principal, Gu Qiangpei, gave a long sigh and raised a mocking smile. "You two don't seem like ordinary high school classmates." Gu's face turned pale. Gu braced himself and said, "President Gu, I'm sorry, really sorry. I'll take him to apologize to you." Gu Qiangpei patted him on the shoulder, "It's okay, it's not your fault." Next episode preview, Gu Qiangpei catering to someone's preferences, discussing what happens after Gu Qiangpei and Song Yuhan partner up. Gu Qiangpei, like a fox, sensed the relationship between Gu and Song Yuhan. After work, Gu Qiangpei invited Gu to a bar for a drink. Gu, still worried about what happened today, accepted Gu Qiangpei's invitation and went to the bar. When he arrived, Gu felt a sudden chill. This was a very classy place. This bar was clearly a gay bar, quite famous in the Beijing LGBTQ+ community, nicknamed Blackgate. How could Gu Qiangpei invite him to a gay bar? Even if he wanted to recruit him, did he really have to go to such lengths? It felt so awkward, as if he was interested in Gu. Was Gu Qiangpei really doing this? The two of them found a seat, and Gu Qiangpei, quite experienced, called the waiter, "Bring me what I stored here last time." Gu frowned slightly. "President Gu, why here? Don't you like this kind of place?" Gu Qiangpei asked back, "What? You don't?" Gu's eyes widened. "You've been here?" Gu Qiangpei smiled, "Yes, I come often." Gu's eyes widened even more. So Gu Qiangpei was just like him. Gu Qiangpei raised his glass and said, "Honestly, since we're no longer colleagues, I really want to make you my friend." Gu Qiangpei took a sip of his drink, squinting at Gu. "Since we're friends, how about you let me gossip a bit about you and Song Yuhan?" Gu Qiangpei casually leaned in, curious, "You two are schoolmates. You've known each other for many years, right?" Gu anticipated this question. He chuckled, 10 years. Next episode preview, Gu and Song Yuhan's encounter. They met again 10 years ago at a university-organized show. 10 years sounds long. But looking back, everything seems like it was just yesterday. Gu was a top student with a full scholarship and a student representative giving a speech, so, they met again backstage. 20-year-old Song Yuhan was already 185 centimeters tall. It was hard to imagine how someone could look so good. The charm exuded from him gave off an even more intense aura. Gu needed to rehearse the event flow with Song Yuhan, nervously saying, "Song, let's rehearse the flow. I'll give a speech first, and at the end, I'll introduce the honorees." Song Yuhan's gaze fell on Gu. He looked at him for a moment, then lightly blew a puff of air and leaned closer to ask, "Have we met before?" Gu's Adam's apple bobbed up and down, and his hands clenched tightly behind his back. Forcing himself to stay calm, Gu nodded, "I'm from the affiliated high school. We did a campus environmental awareness campaign together." "Oh, I remember now." Song Yuhan smiled brightly. "What a coincidence, working together again on this event." Gu couldn't help but smile along. A voice in his heart screamed, "Song Yuhan remembers." But then Song Yuhan's next words poured cold water over his excitement. "Sorry, my memory isn't great. What's your name again?" Gu, the he from harmony, the Gu from solidity. Song Yuhan chuckled, "Why that name? Were you into 10,000 Ys as a kid?" Song Yuhan's smile was adorable, flooding Gu's mind with memories. If one day there was an awakening, for Gu, it might also be a rebirth. Next episode preview, Song Yuhan's doubts about Gu Qiangpei. Is Song Yuhan possessive of Gu or just curious? Even though Gu was at the bar with Gu Qiangpei, his mind was still on Song Yuhan. Would Song Yuhan be mad about today? After leaving the bar, Gu couldn't resist and called Song Yuhan. The phone rang a few times before Song Yuhan quickly answered. Gu cautiously asked, "Yuhan, you're not mad, right?" Song Yuhan responded coldly, I'm not so idle that I have time to be mad all the time. At that moment, Song Yuhan was lazily sprawled on the sofa. Hearing his tone, He-gu knew Song Yuhan was indeed upset. He-gu quickly explained, President Gu is really my boss. We're not that close. I just saw he was drunk and wanted to help him out, nothing more. Song Yuhan, still sounding slightly displeased, asked, how old is he? He-gu hurriedly replied, 32. Song Yuhan, now in a better mood, said, that makes him a mid-level manager at your company, and he's your boss? Is he a senior executive? Song Yuhan suddenly sneered, how did he get there? Is his father the owner? Are all the founders gone, letting a guy in his 30s take over a big company? He-gu helplessly said, no, it's just that he's really capable. But he's resigning at the end of this month. Upon hearing that Gu Quangpei was resigning soon, Song Yuhan sat up abruptly, his mood suddenly brightened. Resigning? Leaving? Good. Song Yuhan was in high spirits. However, when He-gu told him his plans for tomorrow, Song Yuhan's face darkened again. Didn't I tell you before? I'm reshooting that MV. He-gu softly reminded Song Yuhan not to overwork himself. After hanging up the phone, He-gu felt a bit down. Will Song Yuhan still remember my birthday? Next episode preview. He-gu's birthday. Although Song Yuhan couldn't give He-gu the love he wanted, the occasional warmth was enough to keep He-gu from leaving him. Today was He-gu's birthday. Early in the morning, he received a call from his mother. Since his father passed away, they had only met once in over a decade, and their cautious communication was limited to phone calls with distant pleasantries and formalities. This year seemed a bit different. His mother's voice didn't sound as energetic as usual. Chincho's voice asked He-gu how he had been recently. He-gu frowned, and another sigh came from the phone. You're already 28. Time flies so fast. Have a good birthday, and remember to dress warmly. After hanging up the phone, He-gu sank into the sofa and sat there for a while. He-gu, holding his phone, unconsciously found Song Yuhan's number and dialed it. However, the voice on the other end indicated that the phone was turned off. He-gu felt a bit disappointed. He must still be busy. It seems he won't be coming today. He-gu put down the phone and headed to the kitchen, thinking, even if Song Yuhan can't make it, I should at least cook myself some longevity noodles. He-gu put on an apron and started cooking a bowl of longevity noodles. He sliced some beef, sprinkled fresh green onions, and cracked an egg on top. The warm, fragrant noodles were ready, and their light, soothing aroma filled the air, calming his mood. Just then, He-gu heard a small noise from the door, followed by the sound of keys turning. He-gu quickly turned off the stove and rushed out of the kitchen towards the door. Seeing Song Yuhan standing at the entrance, he was both surprised and overjoyed. Song Yuhan, wearing sunglasses and carrying a bunch of items, looked at He-gu. Today, Song Yuhan was dressed in a stylish short jacket, paired with tight black jeans that hugged his long legs. He looked incredibly handsome. Song Yuhan looked at He-gu and said, what are you standing there for? Come and help. He-gu snapped out of it, happily ran towards Song Yuhan, and threw himself into his arms. His heart felt as if something was gently tapping it, making him feel tingly and warm. The preview for the next episode, what He-gu wants for his birthday is Song Yuhan's company. He-gu never expected Song Yuhan to come celebrate his birthday. When Song Yuhan appeared in front of him, He-gu was so excited that he hugged Song Yuhan tightly, not wanting to let go, wishing he could just stay in this embrace. At that moment, Song Yuhan gently grabbed He-gu's hand, flipped it over, and looked into He-gu's joyful eyes with a smile. I came to celebrate your birthday with you. Are you happy? He-gu responded shyly, yes, I'm happy, but I didn't prepare anything. Song Yuhan, looking at He-gu, lightly kissed his face. No need to prepare anything. As long as you're happy. He-gu's birthday today was something Song Yuhan had almost forgotten, but seeing how happy He-gu was, he didn't mention it. Looking at the bag at his feet, he told He-gu, these are gifts I asked Xiao Song to pick out for you. At this moment, He-gu's heart melted because of Song Yuhan. He-gu thought about the past 6 years with Song Yuhan. Even though such warm moments were rare, even if they only happen once or twice a year, it felt like a glowing fire in the middle of winter, enough to keep him warm for a long time. Song Yuhan suddenly noticed the large TV in the living room and said, excitedly, you changed the TV? He-gu smiled softly. Didn't you say the old one was too small? The game got an update, so let's play later. Tonight, we'll have longevity noodles together. He-gu and Song Yuhan sat together on the sofa. The scene was too perfect, too cozy. He-gu said, if I'd known you were coming, I would have prepared more of your favorite foods. Song Yuhan licked his lips, his eyes narrowing like a cunning fox. You are my favorite food. Song Yuhan suddenly remembered something and said, Xiao Song picked out a gift for you. Want to open it now? Taking advantage of Song Yuhan's good mood, Higu quickly said a few good words for Xiao Song, thinking that with his abilities, it would be hard for Song Yuhan to find a better assistant. Song Yuhan smiled, yeah, he's done well. He deserves a raise. Song Yuhan then tousled Higu's hair and, with a dreamy look, leaned closer. Song Yuhan's warm lips pressed against Higu's. Song Yuhan rarely kissed seriously, usually only during passionate moments. But today's kiss surprised and delighted Higu. The preview for the next episode, Song Yuhan's affection interrupted by a call from Feng Zheng. Today, Higu was very happy that Song Yuhan had come to celebrate his birthday. Song Yuhan's kiss left Higu feeling intoxicated. Higu cherished this rare, tender kiss. Song Yuhan, gently caressing Higu, asked while panting, I'll give you one last chance. What do you want for your birthday? Higu, holding onto Song Yuhan's shoulders, flipped him onto the sofa. What else? Higu, sitting on top of Song Yuhan, gazed down at him with mixed emotions. Just as the two were about to cross the line before the race, a phone rang, abruptly ruining the mood. Song Yuhan, annoyed, sat up and grabbed the phone from the coffee table. Who the hell is this? But when he saw the name on the caller ID, he froze. Higu, noticing Song Yuhan holding the phone but not answering, asked with a trembling voice, who is it? Song Yuhan's face quickly turned from affectionate to frosty in a matter of seconds. He answered coldly, Feng Zheng. Higu was stunned for a moment, his body stiffening slightly as he softly said, oh. Song Yuhan clenched the phone tightly, his anger evident. You two are in contact? Higu, feeling like a guilty child, lowered his head and whispered, yes. Song Yuhan, now visibly upset, coldly asked, when? Higu didn't dare look up, unsure of what Song Yuhan was feeling. He answered, we've been in contact recently. Song Yuhan pushed Higu down on the sofa. Higu looked at Song Yuhan's increasingly unpredictable face and sighed, realizing that his birthday was probably over now. The phone kept ringing. Song Yuhan's Adam's apple bobbed with frustration, and he swiped to answer the call. Feng Zheng's voice came through the phone, happy birthday, Higu. At that moment, Song Yuhan was still straddling Higu. Song Yuhan narrowed his eyes and looked down at Higu from above. Higu reached out to grab the phone, but Song Yuhan didn't give him a chance. With heavy sarcasm, he replied, President Feng, are you looking for Higu?